Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And a very good evening to you and welcome to Newsline. Live we're broadcasting from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo, as we almost always do. Now then, Corona pandemic, COVID-19 and so on, occupies the minds and thought process of almost everyone in the country. But it's also about the economy and the need to try and cope with it financially. With the latest information that travel out of the Western Province will be banned until the 15th of November, there is now some thought and consternation too as to how the government intends controlling this and what effect and impact it will have on businesses that are located outside of the Western Province but who are dependent mainly for business from the residents of the Western Province. To discuss that and more, the frustrations and the procedures, we've got with us here very outspoken critique, Maitri Gunratna. Very good evening to you, Maitri. This is the latest. We presume that they will have the entry or the exit points. But several questions are thrown into it. I'm sure that they'll let the trucks to come in for the food supplies and so on. But what about businesses that are based outside the Western Province?
For us, my personal opinion is that we must go in for a full lockdown for at least 14 days. Because now, if today they are going to again close the Western Province, I can't see how they are going to implement it. As it was, I mean, 1 week ago, there was a closure of the Western Province. Still, things were not normal. It has not changed. The number of COVID cases are still at a static level, or it is increasing. So, with all this in play, and now the Deepavali festival is coming up. So, as you would know, there is a very large amount of estate worker population who is working in Colombo, and they are bound to go back to the villages or to the estates. So if this return to the estates takes place from a highly COVID infected or COVID area, then what is going to happen is these estates, they are also going and staying in the estate housing, which is all closed housing.
Yes, so very intensely
intense housing. So then you're going to invite another problem on the estates. Because for us now, our economy, tourism has gone, foreign employment is gone or reduced, and the only proper surviving economy is the plantation sector.
Yes, the exports.
The exports. And we need to, as an agricultural country, we need to concentrate more and more on exports, because that is what is going to bring in the money for us. So if this is spread to the estates, what is going to happen to the economy, which is the little which is left over? What is going to happen to that economy? So these are factors the government will have to take into consideration. I mean, I know, I personally feel that you have to live with COVID. But having let the COVID situation explode, let it explode, the government can't come and say, now you have to live with COVID. Now, before the second wave started, when things were settling down with after the first wave, then the government should have said, okay, now you have to live with COVID, you have to take these precautions, and if you don't take the precautions, then you are going to get into trouble. Not having done that, what they did was, they let the second wave come in, they let it grow, and now it has gone out of proportion. I feel for us it's out of proportion, and I don't want to quote some reports or some articles, writings which are coming on Facebook and social media. I mean, it's mind-boggling when you see those figures.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, for us, I mean, His Excellency the President should not be adamant, no, I am not going to close it. If he has to change his opinion, let him change it. There is no problem. We all of us are interested in controlling this.
And therefore, you feel that the country at large will take the wider picture, which is to not go into a lockdown, but to go into a full lockdown.
What I'm saying is
not a partial lockdown.
This partial lockdown is as it is for us. Now, yesterday I went to travel to Hatton for a case from Colombo to Hatton. Would you believe me that I saw only 3 private buses operational? That is, I went on the Ruanvella road, from Colombo to Ruanvella, and from Ruanvella to Hatton, 3 private buses. So all towns were like ghost towns. Now this is supposed to be a normal day. So what has happened is this for us. Now the army, they did a wonderful job. For one moment I am not discounting what the army has done.
No, they're doing a grand job actually.
They are doing a good job.
Yeah.
But in the same way for us, there is a bit of a authoritarian attitude which they are taking. And in the past few days, the manner in which they handle the COVID patients, putting them into these centers, has driven a little fear among the people. So now what is happening is they don't want to get into that radar.
But is it the case of, when the going gets tough, the tough get going?
No, but the point is for us now, the tough has got going, and their toughness is having a counterproductive strategy, because the people are getting scared.
Yes,
I
know you've always championed the free movement of people and so on, and freedom of speech and so on. But when there are tough decisions to be made, surely the wider picture will mean that, look, we'll have to dispense with the niceties. We can't be discussing this. If you're going to quarantine, you have to go into quarantine. That's it.
No, for us, that's what I'm saying. That same decision has to be taken with regard to the lockdown of the country, because if this starts growing like this, now they say one area of Colombo is very, very bad. That's why this sudden Western Province ban, out of Western Province. That is because some areas in the north of Colombo are supposedly very, very serious. So that's why they have brought in this ban. Why are they doing this piecemeal? Why are they doing it piecemeal? 14 days, let us knock it down. Because various other countries have done it and they have succeeded. Point is for us, it is not the economy. Economy has to, I totally agree that the economy has to be revived and everything has to be done. But if the people are going to die, if this is going to go into every household, if the hospitals can't cope up with this situation, what is the government to do? Government will have to bring in a lockdown and control this situation for us. So that is what I am saying. There will have to be a total lockdown, and just because they have made a decision, it won't look bad. Because if they retract in that decision, because I heard His Excellency the President saying that this issue has to be handled by the medical people and the people who know about this COVID. That is the what do you call them, the people who know about this diseases, disease control unit, the disease control unit. There is a specialized field. So those are the people who should give advice to the President, to the government. They should say this has to be done. Army, Navy, Police, every other person should help them, because the Army commander or the Army or the President cannot decide on what to do, because this disease control unit, the expertise, will be able to come and give us expert advice.
But can the factories, and the thing is this, 62% of our workforce is consists of unskilled people. And a large number of that depends on a daily wage.
Definitely.
Now when the daily wage earners are so much in the majority, then can the country cope with another 2-week or 3-week lockdown?
The choice is, one thing is this, no, Faraz. If there is a 2-week lockdown, I think this country, no one is going to die. Right? No one is going to die. What is more important? Is it the caring for human life, or is it to revive the economy? Because what I am saying is this, for us, this piecemeal lockdown, piecemeal isolation, where has it taken us? Has it brought the figures down? In no way has it brought the figures down. Things are going from bad to worse, it looks like. So, what is in the best interest of the country? I mean, this has happened in many parts of the world. They have gone second wave, they have done a second lockdown.
Yes. But you see, like in the UK, for example, at the beginning they were quite lax in a way. There were video evidence of youngsters and others having parties and get-togethers and so on. And today they're having a full-blown lockdown. But that's in a sophisticated and a developed economy. In a country such as ours, where our per capita GDP has now gone to below the 4,000 mark, and even that GDP is composed primarily of government investment rather than private sector spending. In all that context, and with this wage earning, the daily wage earners scenario, can Sri Lanka cope with it? Because already the factories are struggling. They just tried to come up, notwithstanding the Minuwangoda case. The fact is that these companies are exporting, and our export figures are up anyway. But the question is, though, what is the greater need? Is it to go for a full-blown lockdown, or to do it piecemeal?
No, for us, look at a situation like this. If we don't control it, and if we don't bring the numbers down to maybe less than 25-30 cases per day, or none, and if it is going to be 300-400 cases a day, do you think people are going to go out and start working and get the wheels of the economy turning? I can't see it happening for us. Now, these few days after the curfew was lifted in the Western Province last Monday to today, I mean, Colombo itself it's like on a poor day, or during the Sinhalese New Year.
Yeah.
Colombo streets are so abandoned.
Yeah.
So, with that situation, what is the purpose in having a partially opened economy in the guise of reviving the economy?
So the greater good would be to go for a full closure.
I feel for us, full closure.
Bite the bullet. And yes, there will be difficulties. Yes, the daily wage earners are going to be impacted.
Definitely.
Perhaps the government will have to print more money and make it available to these people, directly paying it into their bank accounts.
Yeah, for us now, when there was an election, they somehow saw to it that they gave the 5,000.
Yeah.
When there was election. Now since there is no election.
But the flip side could be, I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, definitely.
The flip side could be that at that time the economy was not as bad as it is now.
Correct. But the point is, for us, the second wave seems to be worse than the first wave.
Yes, so we are told.
It seems to be worse. So, are we going to control it? How are we going to control it? We need to take strong decisions.
Let's hear from our viewers. Send us your messages by SMS, preferably 0772 300 305. We're going for a short break. Do join us again. This is Newsline Live with Maitri Gunaratna.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
Welcome back to Newsline Live. Now then, thank you for your several messages. by SMS, although some people have sent it by WhatsApp too. Anyway, there's an intense feeling and sayings here, as I can see, the messages coming through, that a lockdown is not advised, a full lockdown is not advisable now. I have an industrialist who's saying the same thing.
I hope I'm proved wrong. And now I'm advocating, before this, advocated the same position that we have to live with COVID. That was my position before. But having neglected the issue from after the second wave, and numbers are increasing, we can't afford to go on like this.
Can I put it to you in a slightly different way?
Yeah.
In the last, when we had that last full lockdown, look at the effects. Some of those effects were companies were forced to get rid of staff. Companies who had the financial ability continued, but with reducing salaries. Others took advantage or had to take advantage with moratoriums on interest payments and so on. And an already weak economy was brought even worse. Right? And so, in whatever all these accountants and so on, the number crunches say, the fact is that Sri Lanka's economy is ultra fragile.
Definitely.
And so, are we going to do that, or are we going to go after the basic UN, actually it's in the UN Charter, the right to life?
Definitely.
But then, as you said yourself, the government seemed to abandon that whole basis of the right to human life when they had an election right bang in the middle of COVID.
No, so answering your question, Faraz, I would personally prefer that there is no lockdown, because we cannot take it. But the fact of the matter is, if numbers increase as it is happening, and now there is no curfew for all intents and purposes. From Monday onwards there was no curfew except a few isolated areas which they call.
Yeah.
Now they are not saying that there is curfew in those areas, but they are saying that they are using a different word, isolated areas. So what I am saying is, for us, after the curfew was lifted, if the people are not participating, if they are not coming out, you go to offices are all skeleton staff, it is as good as a lockdown. It is as good as a lockdown. So why don't we have an actual lockdown, stop everyone going and control this? 14 days, you control it.
You do realize that you won't be able to earn any money either.
I know that. So, but we have to somehow get out of this problem for us, because are we going to prolong the
already groaning judiciary will even take longer now for justice to be meted out.
Already that is happening. Now the cases are getting postponed. There is no dates even which have been given. So, but the problem is, for us, who wants to come and who wants to contract this disease? I feel this is going to get worse. The reports which are coming out in the next few days, which will come out in the next few days, are taking this into alarming proportions.
I mean, the thing is, it's a bit difficult to chew on, because when you look at it, you had during the elections, although it was in reduced numbers or so they said, they even had political rallies.
Yes.
And they were moving from house to house, or from little center to little center to a little bigger center with 500 people or whatever it is. Weddings were happening.
For us, during the election, although we had the COVID issue, the spread was not so rapid. With all those tamashas,
perhaps that we are now reaping what we sowed before.
I don't think, for us, because in fairness, after the first wave, there was a very good 2.5 months to 3 months which seemed to that the things were under control, which showed that the things were under control. And it was after this Minuangoda cluster the neglect of the Minuangoda cluster that ruined this whole scenario, because there were people from all places of the country.
Just maybe it would be almost unfair to say that that was a deliberate omission. It may have been an omission, but it couldn't have been. Surely it couldn't have been by design.
Well, I would say no. By no means do I say it's by design.
Yeah.
But I think it's negligence.
That's a possibility.
Negligence, because for us,
but then
if you take the Paliagoda fish market, if you take the Minuangoda cluster.
Yes, but now, when you say that, but before that, there's this wonderful message. I must read that. It says here, and it's aimed at you. Thank God he's not the government. Obviously, that person disagrees with your viewpoint.
He has every right to disagree with my viewpoint, but I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. The control.
Right.
If it has not gone out of control, why should they have bring this type of sudden restriction? So for us, let us hope that this will be controlled. But my position is, and I will stand by it, that there has to be a 14-day lockdown. If there is no 14-day lockdown, everything will happen as good as a lockdown, but there won't be a lockdown. People will be just walking around because there is no curfew. The hospitals will are probably already full. Ventilators are not as much as we ought to be having, in case it gets more serious than it already is. Now people are being sent home for self-quarantine, home quarantine, which means actually the figures could well go up. Definitely, that's what I'm telling you, Faraz. That's what I'm telling you. People who are listening to me may not like it, but this is the stark fact. And the other thing is, Faraz, now see, 2-3 days ago, after this curfew was lifted, all the vegetable lorries, all the produce was brought to Colombo. When it came to Colombo for us, after about 10 days, there was no mechanism to sell this. Do you know that most of these lorries had to be turned back and sent away? What is the loss? What is the loss? What has the government done on regard to that?
Which is why several programs ago on Newsline Live, we suggested that the government looks seriously at handing over the distribution. We were talking about medicines then, but it's applicable to this too. That we hand it over to the private sector because they know a thing or two about delivering.
No, for us now, even fine, I don't disagree with what you say, but at least for us, Colombo has 15, Colombo city, I'm just talking the municipal area, it has 50, Colombo 1 to Colombo 15. They could have found 15 schools with large playgrounds, got these lorries to come into those places, and at least distributed these food to the people in those areas.
That's another possibility, but
with the supervision of the army, police and all that. But even that had not been done. So what I'm trying to say is, for us, they have no plan.
Right.
They have no plan. And if this gets worse, I dread to see what they're going to do.
But we run out of time. But good point. Let's ask the public. If you want to tell us what you feel, do send us an SMS 0772 300 305. Tell us, are you in favor of a lockdown or are you in favor of a partial lockdown? Tell us what you feel. Send us a message. Now it's time for the primetime news from the only news channel worth watching, News First. Take care, have a great evening, and of course, God bless you.